Three coins, three secrets. One nation that was born from struggle, survival, and strength. A 5-cent coin with a desert plant that outlives empires. A 10-cent coin struck in the very year a country was born. And a 50-cent coin carrying a tree with roots 60 meters deep. Most people spent these like loose change. But the collectors who knew what they were holding? They never let go. Let's explore all three right now. In number 1, Namibia 5 cents 1993, Aloe littoralis. What if I told you that a coin worth just 5 cents could be sitting in your drawer right now, and collectors around the world are hunting it down like buried treasure? Meet the Namibia 5 cents 1993, a coin that carries the soul of an entire nation on one tiny piece of metal. This coin was born in one of the most dramatic moments in African history. Namibia had just broken free from 75 years of South African rule, it gaining full independence on March 21, 1990. That means every single coin minted in those early years, including this 5-cent piece from 1993, was part of building a brand new country's identity from scratch. Think about that. A nation that didn't even legally exist a few years before was now creating its own currency, its own symbols, its own story, and they chose to tell that story through nature. On the reverse of this coin, you'll find the Aloe littoralis, a striking succulent plant native to Namibia and surrounding regions of southern Africa. This isn't just any plant slapped onto a coin for decoration. The Aloe littoralis is a survival machine. It thrives in some of the harshest desert environments on Earth, the same brutal, sun-scorched landscapes that define Namibia itself. By placing this plant on their currency, Namibia was essentially saying, "We are resilient, we are rooted, and we belong to this land." At the obverse of the coin features the Namibian coat of arms, crowned with the bold words Namibia and the denomination clearly marked. The coin itself is made of nickel-plated steel, giving it a clean silver appearance that holds up surprisingly well even decades later. It measures 17 millimeters in diameter, small but perfectly formed. Now here's where things get financially interesting. The 1993 Namibia, 5 cents in mint condition or uncirculated grade, can fetch prices that laugh in the face of its original value. While a circulated example might sell for a modest amount, a perfectly preserved specimen graded by professional numismatic services has been listed for prices reaching into the hundreds of dollars depending on rarity and condition. Collectors specifically target the early independence years, 1990 through 1993, because those first coins represent the birth of a nation. You simply cannot recreate that historical weight. What makes this coin even more special to collectors is the botanical detail on the reverse. Coin engravers in the early 1990s were working with incredible precision, capturing the layered, spiky leaves of the Aloe littoralis in a way that almost feels three-dimensional when you hold it under light. It's not just currency, it's miniature art, miniature history, and a miniature science lesson all in one 5-cent package. The coin was minted by the South African Mint, which handled Namibia's early coinage production as the young nation established its financial infrastructure. This connection to South African minting actually adds another layer of historical complexity. A formerly colonized nation using the facilities of its former administrator to mint the very symbols of its freedom. Now, if you ever come across a 1993 Namibia 5 cents with the Aloe littoralis design in old coin collections, estate sales, or forgotten jars, do not overlook it. You might be holding a piece of one of Africa's most powerful independence stories, wrapped in nickel-plated steel, worth far more than 5 cents to the right collector. Number 2. Namibia, 10 cents, 1990. Now let's talk about a coin that is not just rare. It is historically unrepeatable. The Namibia 10 cents 1990. And the moment you understand what year that is, everything changes. That is not just a year on a coin, that is year zero for an entire nation. Namibia officially became an independent country on March 21, 1990, ending one of the longest and most painful liberation struggles in African history. A brutal 24-year armed conflict, international sanctions, United Nations intervention, and decades of suffering. All of it finally ended. And within that same year, this coin was struck. That means the Namibia 10 cents 1990 is literally from the first batch of coins ever minted for a brand new country. You cannot get closer to the birth of a nation than holding one of these in your hand. Let's think about what that actually means for collectors. First-year issue coins from newly independent nations are among the most sought-after pieces in the entire world of numismatics. Why? Because they are minted in limited quantities. They carry maximum historical significance, and most people who received them in 1990 had no idea they were holding future treasures. They spent them. They lost them. They threw them in drawers and forgot about them. That means the number of well-preserved, uncirculated 1990 Namibia 10 cents coins in existence today is genuinely small, and getting smaller every year. Now let's talk design, because this coin delivers beautifully, and the obverse features the coat of arms of Namibia, a powerful and deeply symbolic image. At the center is an oryx, one of the most majestic antelopes on Earth, an animal so perfectly built for desert survival that it can tolerate body temperatures that would kill most other mammals. Above the shield sits the African fish eagle, wings spread wide, representing vision and freedom. Below, a banner reads, "Unity, Liberty, Justice," the three founding pillars of the new Namibian state. And every single element of that coat of arms was chosen deliberately, carefully, and with full knowledge that it would appear on coins, stamps, and documents for generations to come. The reverse of the 10 cents coin features a clean, bold denomination design, simple, confident, and purposeful. The word Namibia sits proudly, and the date 1990 is stamped like a declaration. This coin is made of nickel-plated steel, built to circulate and survive. And yet the ones that never circulated are now the ones worth chasing. Here is the value conversation that every collector needs to hear. A circulated 1990 Namibia 10 cents might seem ordinary, but an uncirculated or mint-state example, particularly one with full luster and sharp details, has been valued and traded at prices that are staggering compared to its face value. In the world of era coins and first-year issues, the 1990 Namibian series commands serious attention. Some complete proof sets from 1990, the kind issued for collectors rather than circulation, have sold for prices climbing well into the hundreds to thousands of dollars when the full set is intact and graded. Individual coins from that first year, depending on grade, regularly surprise sellers at auction. There is also a deeply emotional dimension to this coin that pure financial value cannot capture. Namibia's road to independence ran through 23 years of armed resistance by SWAPO, the Southwest Africa People's Organization. Thousands of lives were lost, families were destroyed, people went into exile and never returned. And then in 1990, a new flag rose, a new anthem played, and a new coin was struck. When elderly Namibians who lived through that liberation struggle hold a 1990 10 cents coin, they are not holding currency. They are holding proof that they won. The coin was produced at the South African Mint in Pretoria, which adds a striking irony that historians love to point out. South Africa had administered Namibia under a controversial League of Nations mandate, eventually refusing to give it up even after the United Nations revoked that mandate in 1966. And yet, when freedom finally came, it was South African minting infrastructure that produced Namibia's first coins. History is rarely clean, but it is always fascinating. For anyone building a serious African numismatic collection, the 1990 Namibia 10 cents is not optional. It is essential. It represents a timestamp that can never be recreated, a moment that will never come again, pressed permanently into metal for anyone wise enough to recognize what they are looking at. This is not just a 10-cent coin. This is freedom, minted in steel. Number 3. Namibia, 50 cents, 1993. We have talked about resilience. We have talked about freedom. But now, we talk about the crown jewel. The Namibia 50 cents, 1993, the highest denomination in the early Namibian coin series, and the one that collectors argue about the most, chase the hardest, and value the deepest. If the 5 cents told you about nature and the 10 cents told you about independence, then the 50 cents tells you about ambition, the ambition of a young nation that refused to be small. Let's set the scene first. By 1993, and Namibia was just 3 years old as an independent country. 3 years. Most nations take decades to stabilize after liberation. Namibia was already building schools, establishing institutions, developing infrastructure, and minting coins that would make the world pay attention. The 1993 50 cents was not just currency. It was a statement of permanence. We are here. We are real. And we are not going anywhere. Now let's talk about what makes this specific coin so visually and historically powerful: the design. The obverse of the Namibia 50 cents 1993 carries the full Namibian coat of arms in stunning detail. But on a larger, higher denomination coin, that detail becomes even more impressive. The oryx stands bold at the center of the shield. The African fish eagle crowns the top with wings fully extended, a posture of absolute authority. The two supporters flanking the shield, a Namibian man and woman, represent the people themselves, the human foundation of the nation. Below everything, that powerful motto: unity, liberty, justice. On a 50 cents coin, every engraved line carries weight. The reverse is where this coin separates itself from everything else in the series. It features the camel thorn tree, Vachellia areoloba, one of the most iconic and beloved trees of southern Africa. This is not a random botanical choice. The camel thorn tree is a legend of the Namibian landscape. It grows in some of the most extreme desert conditions imaginable, pushing its roots up to 60 meters deep into the earth, searching for water. It can live for over 200 years. Its seed pods were historically used to feed both wildlife and livestock. The Sand People, one of the oldest human cultures on Earth, used every part of this tree for food, medicine, and tools for thousands of years. By placing the camel thorn tree on their highest circulating denomination coin, Namibia was encoding an entire philosophy into metal. Deep roots, extreme endurance, nourishment for all. These were not accidental symbols. These were deliberate declarations about what kind of nation Namibia intended to be. The coin itself is struck in nickel-plated steel, measures approximately 22 to 24 millimeters in diameter, noticeably larger and heavier feeling than its 5 and 10 cent siblings. When you hold a 1993 Namibia 50 cents, there is a satisfying weight to it, a presence. It feels like what it is, the most significant coin in a historic early series. Now let's get into the numbers that make collectors' eyes light up. The 50 cents denomination from the early Namibian independence years is considered the anchor piece of any complete Namibian coin set from this era. Uncirculated examples with original mint luster are increasingly difficult to find in top grades. When complete proof and specimens, sets from the early 1990s, Namibian series appear at major auction houses, heritage auctions, Stack's Bowers, or specialized African numismatic sales. They regularly command prices that shock people unfamiliar with this collecting category. Sets in pristine condition have moved for thousands of dollars, with the 50-cent piece often being the hardest to source in high grade. There is also a population report reality that serious collectors understand deeply. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified relatively few examples of early Namibian coinage compared to more mainstream series. That low certified population is not because the coins are unimportant. It is because most collectors in Namibia and the surrounding region were not submitting coins for grading in the 1990s and early 2000s. They were using them, saving them informally, or simply unaware of the international collector market. That means genuinely high grade. Professionally certified examples of the 1993 50 cents are rarer than the raw numbers suggest. And rarity in numismatics always eventually becomes value. Beyond the financial story, there is something deeply moving about this coin when you hold it and truly think about what it represents. In 1993, Namibia was a nation of roughly 1.5 million people rebuilding after decades of conflict, drought, and economic suppression. And yet someone, a government official, a designer, an engraver, sat down and decided that even their smallest coins would be beautiful. That they would carry the camel thorn tree, the oryx, the eagle, the people. That every single Namibian who reached into their pocket for change would touch something that reminded them of who they were and where they came from. That is not just coin design. That is national poetry pressed into steel. The 1993 Namibia 50 cents closes this early series with power and grace. It is the coin that says everything the others started saying. Nature matters, freedom is earned, roots run deep, and a nation that has survived this much can survive anything. For collectors, it is the piece that completes the story. For historians, it is a primary source you can hold in your hand. And for anyone who just stumbled across one in an old collection without knowing what they had, it is time to look a little closer, because what you are holding is worth far more than 50 cents.